This time on episode 250 of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., we discuss Ant-Man and the Wasp, weekly Marvel News Roundup, and your listener feedback.
I'm Lindsay.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Joe from PopXcast,
a podcast member of the Gonna Geek Network.
Just like the show you're listening to now.
The opinions expressed are those of each individual host.
Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
And get ready because geekiness begins in
3,
2,
1.
You have been granted clearance by director Alfonso Mack Mackenzie. Stand by for a S.H.I.E.L.D. debriefing. All information to be discussed here is classified and may only be discussed among agents granted clearance by the S.H.I.E.L.D. director.
Now it's time for your scheduled debriefing. I'm Director SP.
I'm Agent Lauren.
And I'm Consultant Michelle.
Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're a Marvel Comic Universe fan show. This show is recorded on Sunday, July 15th, 2018, live from the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. studios and broadcast quantum land-wide via www.geeks.live. Ladies, happy National Ice Cream Day!
Yay!
What flavors of ice cream do you have in your freezer right now?
Okay, so I have chocolate, vanilla, and then those chocolate taco things, and then I have these little cones that are vanilla with caramel and dipped in chocolate. That's what I have right now.
Amazing.
What about you, Lauren?
I have vanilla and pistachio, and we had these delicious the Tillamook ice cream sandwiches. They make them in like strawberry and mint chocolate chip, and we ate them though. But they're so good.
Yes, I have some, for lack of a better term, diet ice cream in little small things, which I was thinking about getting out today. So now that it's National Ice Cream Day, I probably will. But until we finish the podcast and get to go eat more ice cream, let's continue this. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a fan-based podcast on the ABC television show Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which we just started the 8th hiatus week following the end to Season 5 on our way to Season 6. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Legends on FX, the Marvel Netflix series, and the Marvel Comic Book Universe in general.
Because of... I just blanked out on what I was going to say.
Did Thanos get to you?
Thanos got to my mind. Oh my God, you guys, this is so embarrassing.
Quantum ants something.
Oh my God. Because of annoying seagulls. That wasn't what I was going to say, but you guys, oh my God.
If you would like to talk to us about how seagulls will steal your food, you can visit our website, legendsofshield.com.
If you'd like to talk to us about how seagulls have stolen your brain, you can call us at our voicemail, 844-THE-BUS-1. That's 844-843-2871.
If you'd like to share your story about how seagulls stole your French fries, you can leave that on our Facebook, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast.
If you'd like to tell us about how seagulls are the worst bird, you can get a hold of us at our Twitter at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You can leave us comments about our show and how seagulls are very annoying on YouTube, www.youtube.com/GonnaGeek.
You can tell your Amazon device to enable Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. skill and listen to us there.
And remember, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a proud member of the GonnaGeek.com network.
Agent Haley is not with us today. We send her our well wishes. She is busy going off to actually see Ant-Man and the Wasp, and we look forward to her minor review in an upcoming episode. In the meantime, I think it is time for us to hit the big guns here, the main event, Ant-Man and the Wasp. So we have Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Lauren, I'm a little bit confused. The title, this wasn't one of the more self-explanatory titles in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So what's with the title?
Well, you see, ants and wasps are both members of the same insect family. They are both vespids. Hold on, let me pull this up to make sure I've got this right. It's been a while since my entomology class. Okay, they are both members of Hymenoptera, which means like
Small arachnids?
well, no, arachnids aren't insects.
I know.
It means membrane wing because they all have membranous wings. And other members of Hymenoptera include bees and sawflies. But yes, they're members of the same family. Well, no, not family. They're members of the same order. So really, it's all about entomology.
Oh, so this was an educational film.
Yes, this was Marvel's attempt at an educational film about entomology, and I really appreciate them for that.
Way to go, Marvel.
And I am sorry for all the brain farts I'm having this morning. There is no caffeine in my house right now.
How did that happen?
We drank it all.
Oh, but you're supposed to buy more.
I am too lazy to make tea right now, so.
Oh, so you do have some in the house. You're just too lazy to actually make it to consume it.
Because the easy caffeine wasn't there, so I don't have the energy to make the difficult caffeine.
You need to get Scott on that. In the meantime, Michelle, we're going to talk about the producers for this great film, I believe the 19th MCU film. I might be off by one on that. But Michelle, who produced this wonderful film?
Well, our first producer is Kevin Feige. If you are a Marvel fan and you are not aware of that name, then come on, even I know who that is. 59 producing credits since 2000. It's the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. I am not listing all the movies. Another producer is Steven Broussard. Has 7 producing credits since 2003. Credits include Captain America: The First Avenger, Iron Man 3, Doctor Strange, and Ant-Man and The Wasp. Other executive producers are Victoria Alonso, Luis D'Esposito, Stan Lee, and Charles Nieworth. And this is based on Ant-Man by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby, and Wasp by Stan Lee, Ernie Hart, and Jack Kirby.
All right, so lots of familiar names there, and it was good because of it, I think. So, Michelle, we also had a director for this film.
Yes. This film was directed by Peyton Reed, has 25 directing credits starting in 1989, including Bring It On, The Breakup, Yes Man, Ant-Man, and this film.
Bring It On, one of the iconic films of the 2000s. Lauren, in addition to the incredible production and writing team, production and directing team, we actually had some great writers.
We do. So among the writers, first listed is Chris McKenna, who has 9 credits. So the movie Igor was written by him. A bunch of episodes of American Dad, The Mindy Project, 10 episodes of Community, the screenplay of the Lego Batman movie, Spider-Man Homecoming, Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle, this movie, and the upcoming Spider-Man Far From Home. We also have Erik Sommers, who has 15 writing credits to his name, which go back and include 3 South, the TV series, which I've never heard of, Crank Yankers, which I do remember, Drawn Together, which I loved to watch because it broke all my friends' brains, American Dad, 1 episode of Community, 2 episodes of the show Marry Me, 2 episodes of the show Dr. Ken, also the screenplay of the Lego Batman movie, Spider-Man Homecoming, Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle, this movie, and Spider-Man Far From Home. We also have Paul Rudd, who has 4 writing credits since. So many acting credits.
2008 was his first
2008 with Role Models, which, by the way, is a movie that I love, having done Big Brothers Big Sisters. Also, the TV show Party Down, Ant-Man, and Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I'm guessing there's a lot of like improv and stuff that goes into it that gets added under him. And also we have Andrew Barrere. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. 6 writing credits from 2011, including Haunt and Ant-Man and the Wasp. And Gabriel Ferrari with 4 writing credits starting in 2018, including Ant-Man and the Wasp.
All did a great job. And actually, Paul Rudd being accredited for both Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp is written by, reminds me of Deadpool as well, where you had the writing credit go to Mr. Deadpool himself. It's so hard to say if he's Deadpool or if he's, not Deadpool, but I think he should go by Deadpool because, well, heck, he dresses like Deadpool all the time anyway. Anyway, we're going to go over the cast for Ant-Man and the Wasp here. And this is really quick, but a lot of great actors in this, in my opinion. We're going to start off with Ant-Man himself, Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd.
We have Evangeline Lilly reprising her role as Hope Van Dyne / The Wasp.
Michael Pena returns as Luis.
And oh my gosh, Sonny Birch, played by Walton Goggins. Now, I first ran into Walton Goggins on Justified. I also saw him on the History Channel SEALs show. He is just amazing whenever you see him on screen. Haven't seen a lot of diverse acting ability from him, but his acting ability actually applies to such different things, and he played Sonny Birch really well. It was great seeing him in this movie.
You should check out Vice Principals on HBO. He's really interesting on that. He played a trans woman on Sons of Anarchy, which I wish they had cast an actual trans woman, but I will admit that he really brought a lot of pathos to the role. We have Bobby Cannavale as Paxton, who is a lot of fun in this movie.
Yeah. Judy Greer comes back as Maggie.
It's always great to see Judy Greer on scene because I'm listening to her voice all the time with Archer.
You're not my supervisor!
And we had Dave, played by Tip T.I. Harris.
We have David Dastmalchian. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, and I'm very sorry if I'm not, as Kurt.
Hannah John Kamen as Ava Ghost.
So I first knew Hannah as the Killjoys series, which she is amazing on. And as we record this on the 15th, on the 20th, so just 5 days from now, the next season of Killjoys is coming on. And I'm really looking forward to that. However, we'll have to talk about this later, but I've been a little underwhelmed with her film appearances in 2018. So remind me to talk about that a little bit later. We also had Little Cassie, played by Abby Ryder Forston.
We also had Randall Park as Jimmy Woo. I love both Randall Park and I love Jimmy Woo in the comics. I was happy.
Michelle Pfeiffer plays Janet Van Dyne.
Yes.
And Lawrence Fishburne plays Dr. Bill Foster. It was an incredible casting.
We have Michael Douglas returning as Dr. Hank Pym.
Divian Ladwa is Uzman. That's not a truth serum guy. He was great.
Goran Kostic played Anatolov.
We have Rob Archer as Knox.
Sean Flyer as Agent Stoltz.
Benjamin Brian Davis played Agent Burley.
Michael Servius played Elias Starr. Am I misremembering, or is Michael Cerveris also the guy from Fringe?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to have to look that up.
I am looking, and yes, he is. He was, what was his name in Fringe? The Observer.
Oh, he was the Observer. Oh.
Yeah, like September, October, whatever
Gemini,
his name was.
September and Gemini.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Cool. Rhiannon Steele was Catherine Starr.
And finally, the last casting is Julia Vera as Luis's abuelita, which I believe.
Abuelita.
Well, you should say it, not me.
Yeah, that is Spanish for grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Abuela is grandma. Abuelita is like a term of endearment, like little grandma.
And it was a really good cast for this film. I thought they actually casted every single person really great, and it was well put together. And I quite honestly enjoyed the film a lot more than Infinity War, which is saying something. But I did not get to see the film like right when it came out because I was enjoying time with my family at the lake home. When I came home, though, the first thing that I did, since I had a little time, traffic was lighter than I thought it was going to be. So I went out and watched it Tuesday night versus like Friday night as we're podcasting on Sunday, Friday, or Saturday. So I saw it on Tuesday night. I saw it in normal 2D as I always do. And by the way, Tuesday tickets are cheap in comparison to regular tickets. I got like 50% off for a brand new movie. It was great.
Yeah, the key is you got to go find out when your theater has, there's always one day when your theater has deals. Find that day and go there on that day. It's fantastic.
Still had about 40 to 50 people in the theater. I actually was counting once the trailer started of how many people were in the theater. So somewhere between 40 and 50. I couldn't really count the people behind me. And so was kind of full. On the other hand, this reinforced to me why I don't like to go see movies in the theater, because all the freaking ambient noise just really bugs me, because they're eating their snacks and whatever and crinkling their, it's not really the chewing that gets to me. I could care less about the chewing, but it's the plastic bags and that sort of thing really gets me, especially in quiet moments. I'm like, it's supposed to be quiet, but no, that wasn't it. Anyway, so that's how I watch it. Lauren, when did you get a chance to watch this?
I watched it the Sunday after it came out. Not opening night, but a couple of days later, because I'm actually very busy right now. I have a bunch of deadlines I'm trying to meet. So it was sort of a treat for me. And we watched it that Sunday morning. We went to our local theater that serves food there. So we went for lunch and it was still full. We went to the 2D showing and had a blast. There were some people who were like, right as the movie was starting, phones were ringing, people were texting. But then real quick, everyone was into the movie. It was a really good audience experience. I'm always worried I'm going to be the one annoying people because I'm the one who's pointing out like, ooh, this is this person. This person does this in the comics. Ooh, that's that actor. I'm that person. I think I've mentioned this several times before on this show. So sorry.
If I was sitting next to you, it would be no big deal because I know you'd be telling me relevant stuff, but the candy crinkling, that's another thing entirely. Anyway, Michelle, you saw the movie like, 15 times, right? Once a day since it came out?
No, I'm not like that guy who's seen Infinity War like 12,000 times. I've only seen it twice, both times 2D. The first time was Saturday, the 7th, 10 a.m. It was about half full. And then I saw it this Saturday, the 14th at 10:30 a.m. It was about a third full. But there were more kids this time, which surprised me considering Hotel Transylvania 3 is out this weekend. The kids were actually pretty well behaved, which made me happy.
Okay. I didn't think I had any kids that were annoying or anything. Matter of fact, I don't think any kids were out. I mean, it was a Tuesday night. So anyway, so that's how we saw the movie. And now we're going to talk about the movie. And we're not going to talk about our takes on the movie to start off with, because who cares about us? Everybody wants to know what Michelle's mom thought of the movie. So Michelle, what'd your mom think?
She loved it. She went with me both times. She was very happy to see it again. She liked this much more than Deadpool 2. She liked it as much as Thor Ragnarok. And she really enjoyed Thor Ragnarok. She thought it was funny. She loved the action. She was really happy about the Wasp. The Wasp was her favorite character.
I think the Wasp might be everyone's favorite character. I mean, it was so well done. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Did she have any other thoughts on the episode, on the movie?
so much. She did have a couple of questions about like who was in the first movie, this time. Because she was like, so I remember Luis, were the other two guys is like, yes, they were with because we didn't see Ant-Man before we saw this. So she was rusty on what had happened in the first movie. But she actually liked this a lot more than the first movie.
I didn't get a chance to watch the first one before I went to see this either because I was traveling right beforehand, but I have an itch to go watch it now that I didn't have from before. Lauren, did you actually watch the first one before you went to see this, or were you sequestered in your work?
I didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
But I've been really, really wanting to rewatch it. And there's a bunch of Marvel movies I've been wanting to rewatch lately, and it's all the fun ones like this and Guardians 2. And I've rewatched Thor Ragnarok a couple times lately. It's just a good feel-good movie.
It is. So Friday night, we went out and into the outdoor theater. We set it up and we watched Iron Man 2. And unfortunately, my mother-in-law was out there and she has no idea about any of this stuff. I think she was just out to, get outside and that sort of thing. But she was completely lost because Iron Man 2 builds on Iron Man so much. She's like, well, who is this guy? What is she doing? What is he doing? And what is going on? Who's the bad guy? Which the bad guy is kind of veiled in the whole thing anyway. But so I understand why somebody going into this would be a little disoriented, but they do so well at doing explanation throughout the film that you can watch it, this one, Ant-Man and the Wasp, standalone, I think. You might be a little lost to begin with, but eventually within the first 15 minutes, you get what you need. So I mentioned the villain in Iron Man 2. We need to figure out who the villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp is. And Michelle, you've laid out some options for us to choose from.
First, I'm like, Hank Pym. Like, think about it. Hank has issues with Bill Foster and Elias Starr. Elias Starr tries to recreate the technology that he was working with Hank with, and then it causes the explosion and it creates Ava's condition. You've got S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. was not represented in a good light in this movie. It was really interesting. S.H.I.E.L.D. took Ava, trained her as a weapon, promised to give her a cure. That didn't happen. You have Birch, the obvious guy, but he's like, I went to the lab for quantum energy to replace oil, and I got buyers, but we never find out who the buyers are. And then we have Ava. I really don't see Ava as a villain. I see her as someone who is in chronic pain, who is wanting a cure. And if you have ever had any sort of chronic pain and how it won't go away no matter what you do, heating pads, cold presses, going to your doctor, getting prescription pills, and just having a constant pain all the time, and you can't sleep and you can't focus, it is awful. And I really feel for Ava. I see her as a victim more than I do as a villain. I actually see Hank and S.H.I.E.L.D. more as a villain than her.
Agreed. Like, this movie, sort of okay, first of all, are we agreed that it was Hydra S.H.I.E.L.D. that was probably the one who was doing all the training Ava as a weapon thing?
Most likely, but you can't discount the fact that it was S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Or it was... eye patch dude. Nick Fury. You can't discount that it wasn't Nick Fury who wanted to utilize this as a weapon.
But yeah, the whole time she's telling that story, I'm like, Hydra S.H.I.E.L.D.? But, and then when they're talking about, Hank Pym and his hubris and everything, yes, thank you for bringing that in. Hank Pym has been such a controversial character in the comics. So, in the comics, there was this whole thing when he was creating Ultron, and he had been up for hours and was on uppers, and because they'd kicked him out of the Avengers, and he was like, okay, if I create this robot then they'll see that, I'm cool again and they'll bring me back in. And Janet was like, don't you think this is a bad idea? And he slaps her. And that was, this huge, it became a defining characteristic for his character for a long time. Hank Pym is a wife beater. In Ultimate's universe, that is Hank Pym. Hank Pym is a violent, angry man who beats the hell out of Janet. Even though, you go back and you read early Fantastic Four, Reed Richards is constantly belittling Sue, slapping her, stuff like that. It's gross. There's a reason I don't like Reed Richards. But Hank is very much up his own ass about how smart he is. He's temperamental. He's not the easiest character to like. And I'm really glad that they found a way to do that without having him be a wife beater, which is kind of the easy answer that a lot of writers fall back to, and which I feel is a cheat. And I like that they have that be the, kind of impetus for this. Hank drove people away. His whole thing is, I'm the person with all the answers. I can't trust you. He drove Bill Foster away, who is a character that I like and who got basically fridged to start off the original Civil War comic. You have Janet as the person who was sort of his balance. And when she was lost, he became even worse to be around. And so one of the themes that you really find in this story is balance. You have the whole you need a partner thing with Scott. You have the you can't do this your own way. You have Bill balancing out Ava. You have Hank needing to find his balance again with Janet. And I really, really liked that. The whole theme of the story seems to be unbalanced characters. And I really appreciated that. There wasn't really that whole hard and fast villain, although we're agreed that Walton Goggins' character Birch was a dick. And it was fun to watch him, chase after them. But yeah, Ava was more of a victim than a villain. I definitely, as somebody with chronic pain, who right now I have my knee taped up because it keeps going out of place, I feel for her. She was probably one of my favorite characters in the movie. And looking for the themes in the movie and looking for who is the bad guy in the movie, it seems to be thinking that you have all the answers is sort of the ultimate bad guy.
Right. So a very non-traditional movie in who exactly is the bad guy and who isn't. Now, with Ava, I will just throw in there that she was a victim. Absolutely not going to argue with that. But the way she went about or wanted to go about not becoming a victim anymore is a little suspect. And maybe that was just a product of her environment, of where she was at and needing to get it fixed. Or maybe that's part of her personality. I don't know. So I want to talk not about Ava, but about the actor Hannah John Kamen, who is, as I said before, in Killjoys. This is actually her third major feature film of 2018. She was in Tomb Raider, which I own, but I haven't had a chance to watch yet. She was in Ready Player One, which I have seen, and she's in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now, I haven't seen her in Tomb Raider, so she might have actually pulled off that performance a little bit better. In Ready Player One, her performance was okay, but her character and how the character was wrote was very cartoonish. And I think it was hard for her to do that. And then in this one, I think she had a little bit of difficulty adapting to the role as well. I think it could have been a little bit more menacing than it was, but I mean, it was okay. I just think she's struggling on the big screen. Now, she might have not, as I said, in Tomb Raider, but in the latter two, in Ready Player One and Ant-Man and the Wasp, I think she did. So I'm looking forward to seeing her in something else, to compare her in something else. Maybe I'll pop in Tomb Raider and check that one out in the meantime. But just want to throw that out there, that I think she's incredibly talented, but I just haven't seen it come out on the big screen. Maybe you two ladies feel differently about her performance.
I knew she's not supposed to be menacing. She is someone who is on the verge of death. So she was able to sort of play this frantic desperation. And you also have to remember she was raised by S.H.I.E.L.D, which also sort of influences her emotion and being able to express her emotion, because S.H.I.E.L.D took her as a child. And when you're taken by an organization and raised by an organization, that's going to do something to you. I believed Ava's pain. I believed her journey. So I didn't have a problem with it.
She's going to continue to be a character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because she gets away with Bill Foster. I don't know what role she's going to play here on out. So I'm curious as to see how her symptoms being relieved is the best way that I can determine what happens at the end of the movie. Transforms her character or doesn't transform her character as things move on. So we'll see. It's hard to say right now until we see her on screen another time. Don't know. Lauren, were you going to say something?
I was going to say that this is a character that I feel like you don't want to be too menacing, because you want the audience to sort of be rooting for her. You want them to understand where she's coming from, and you want her to be redeemed at the end. So you need to play her with some vulnerability. You need to play her with that desperation. But at the same, there needs to be a physical kind of deadliness there. But when she's talking, the way she's acting, there's that edge of desperation, the look in her eyes, the pain, the vulnerability. That was all stuff I could relate to. And yeah, this was somebody that, I don't know. Did you ever see the movie John Q?
No.
It was back in the 1990s, Denzel Washington. It was a movie about a guy whose son was denied an organ transplant. And in desperation, he took the hospital hostage. And that was what this reminded me of. Somebody who was just so desperate because they were on their last legs, that they were doing something that ordinarily, well, I say ordinarily they wouldn't do, which was in this case threaten a child, but we don't know what all she did for S.H.I.E.L.D. She says, she's done horrible things. Bill Foster is horrified because this is his adopted daughter. We see the juxtaposition with, him and Hank in both, their fields of studies are so similar. They're butting heads because they're both prideful and they're both smart. And Ava and Hope are both very competent, and they're both physically competent, and they're both driven. But Hope, and they both lost a parent. Well, Ava lost both of her parents, and they both lost these parents due to kind of inadvertently Hank's, overconfidence. But Hope took that, and, she still had the advantage of having a parent, a biological parent that she still felt close to, that, she still felt driven. And Ava, instead of having that, got taken in by S.H.I.E.L.D. and trained as an assassin. So she has all this anger, all this hate. And you can compare them, you can juxtapose them. And that, I think, was a really brilliant move.
So again, I'm pretty worried about where they're going to take the two characters, Bill Fossa and Ava, in the future. Hank, for his point, does tell Bill before he goes into the quantum realm to rescue Janet, which we'll talk about in a second, is vowing to find a solution, a cure for Ava. So you've got that promise, but I don't know how Bill and Ava are going to react to that promise, if they're going to be included in the solution, which I don't think they were, judging by the mid-credit scene, or if they're going to try to find another solution on their own at whatever cost, or they're going to try to steal whatever solution that Hank and Janet and company come up with. I don't know. And I don't know what the events of the Infinity War is going to have on everybody too, because they weren't shown at the end. You don't know what's going to happen with it. So anyway, it's an unknown at this point, and I'm wondering how it's going to turn out.
Well, at the end, at the first stinger, they are getting the quantum healing particles for her.
Yes, I know that they are doing that, and Hank's following through, but I don't know if Bill and Ava are aware.
I would imagine they are.
I wouldn't assume that, because if they were, why weren't they there?
Because perhaps Ava needs to be in a environment. Maybe she needs to be back in sort of like her cube or something like that. Maybe having her just stand around there wouldn't be helpful.
And maybe she's wanted. Maybe they need to be, maybe they're on the run. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be a lot of different things. I'm not going to assume anything. I'm just going to leave the possibility out there that they're going to turn even badder in the next movie or in the next iteration or whenever we see him again. Because Lawrence Fishburne is too great of an actor. Morpheus himself, it's too great of an actor just to throw away on one Marvel Cinematic Universe film, in my opinion. All right, we said we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it now. The Quest to Rescue Janet is basically the title of this film, in addition to helping out Ava. And it was interesting with Janet channeling herself through Scott and then actually coming back with some kind of quantum realm powers. So it was a interesting ride to get Janet back into our realm, wasn't it?
So the title Ant-Man and the Wasp could also easily apply to Hank and Janet, who are the original Ant-Man and the Wasp. And Janet's been in the quantum realm for, years. And she's been soaking up what we find out are weird powers. And getting this okay, when I was watching the movie, I'm like, where did she get that sword and hood thing? And then talking to Scott, I guess the sword was part of her wing. And the hood was, I guess, whatever she was wearing underneath her suit. So I don't know a whole lot about quantum physics. I know just enough to be able to not lose myself in a conversation with somebody else who only knows a little bit more than me.
But would you lose yourself into the quantum realm?
Oh, absolutely. That place is trippy. I would just start following colors and then just be gone. Actually, I would get eaten by the tardigrades. The second I saw them, I was like, water bears, I want to hug them. And then they're like, oh, well, they'll eat you. And I'm like, this is how I die. But
you're right, though. The Ant-Man and the Wasp applies to both couples, the married Janet and Hank. They're married, right? Janet and Hank?
Yes. No, they're married.
Yeah. And then Scott and Hope. You're right. Totally right. It applies to both of them. And it's a great double entendre, especially since we see the original Ant-Man costume.
That thing is ugly as hell.
It is. And when they were going after the missile, he was in basically the costume that he gave Scott, right? He wasn't in the original costume.
Yeah, because it's CGI or a body double or something. So we don't have to see Michael Douglas and his old man body because, you reach a certain point and it's like, why bother? I'm old. I can do what I want. I've survived cancer and I can't blame him. So why would you want to be in a skin tight suit that would make you feel bad? Just go in the one that looks like, that and do whatever.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when you go diving, it's all skin tight.
Yeah. I went snorkeling a few years ago and felt very inadequate.
Yeah, it happens when we get older. So, Michelle, what did you think about the whole quest to rescue Janet?
I like how it tied the first movie, what Scott did, going into the quantum realm and then coming back. That gave Hank hope that perhaps Janet was still alive. it made sense that Janet could quantum entangle herself with Scott. And as for Janet's evolution, she was subatomic. She probably didn't have water or food because she says part of it was adaptation, which would have meant she would have had to have learned to use the energy in the quantum realm to sustain her life and to figure it out. And because she also figures out the algorithm, and she knows that it's a perfect alignment that won't happen for like another 100 years. And that's why we've got to do it now. It's why we've got 2 hours. You got to do it now. Movies. So it made sense that she would come back with weird, almost magic sort of thing. Because it's really interesting how the quantum realm kind of looks like what Doctor Strange went through in a way. And it's almost like, well, is the magic or is it like the magic from the quantum realm?
Well, it's that whole magic is only science that we don't understand yet. And I remember thinking this the first time I saw Ant-Man and then saw Doctor Strange. It's like, oh, is this the same thing? So maybe Earth's sorcerers are only manipulating the quantum realm. So is Janet like a sorcerer now? Like as we understand it? Because again, we find out in Thor that it's like what you call magic, we call science.
Right. That's what I was just going to say is it probably looks like magic, but it actually is a manipulation of the quantum realm technology, physics, whatever you want to say. And I'm wondering what's going to happen with Janet in the future. Like, is she firmly in the real big universe realm, or does she have one foot in the quantum realm too? So that again will probably be explored sometime after the whole Infinity War thing is resolved, which, by the way, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about the tie-ins to both Captain America Civil War and Infinity War, because they were both in here, since this film seems sandwiched basically right in between the two of them and at the end with Infinity War. So you had the Civil War tie-in with
Scott's on house arrest.
Yep. When Scott came back, he was found in violation of the Sokovia Accords, and both he and Hank and Hope Van Dyne were then suspect to the Sokovia Accords laws, and Scott found himself in arrest.
Yeah, he copped a plea deal and got put on house arrest for like 2 years, which produced some absolutely amazing sequences. Like, we get all the things about him learning close-up magic, which pays off so well, the whole distraction thing. We get Jimmy Woo trying to learn the card trick that he does at the beginning of... Jimmy Woo, by the way, is fantastic in this. Like, Randall Park. I love Randall Park. He knocks it out of the park in this one. Seriously, if you haven't seen Fresh Off the Boat, he's so good. He's been in a couple episodes of Drunk History as both the storyteller and an actor. Fantastic. And, oh, Veep. He's fantastic on Veep. And we also get, when they bust him out, the giant ant that they put the ankle tracker on so that they don't just see the ankle tracker just sitting there. And that was amazing.
Programmed to do the same sort of things in the same portions of the day that Scott was doing. Yeah, that was pretty cool as well. The other tie-in was Infinity War, and I'm just going to call that one out as kind of weak, and that's mainly due to my issues with Infinity War. I think I'm the only one that has issues with Infinity War that I know of, because everybody else tells me you're just making too big of a deal out of it. And I'm just telling you that from my perspective, I have issues with Infinity War. So when I saw this, I can only imagine it's going to be resolved in Avengers 4, whatever that's actually going to be titled. Because isn't Scott Lang in Avengers 4?
Yes.
Yes.
So should we just say what happens? It's okay. The movie ends. It's fantastic. Everyone's having a great time. Mid-credit scene hits. and they're going and they're going to get, the healing particles for Ava. So they send Scott in and snap.
Literally, the Thanos snap from Infinity War.
Yeah. And everyone in my theater, including me, yelled. I had been texting my sister at the time because we went to see the movie at the exact same time. And we started just screaming via text at each other.
Yeah, thanks for not screaming at me, by the way. That was great. Thanks for keeping it quiet. So, yeah, they had that happen, which I know is going to be resolved in Avengers 4. And I just have general issues with that because of Infinity War. But Michelle, what did you think of the post or the mid-credit scene?
Well, there has to be a way for characters to get together to beat Thanos. One of the little tidbits, if you didn't catch it the first time, I caught it this time, during that scene was they mentioned time pockets within the quantum realm. And as you know, we have the time stone and time travel possible. And obviously Ant-Man, Scott, has to take part in defeating Thanos. For me, I think this movie and Captain Marvel are going to help to lead into Avengers 4, kind of like how the end of Thor Ragnarok went into Infinity War. I'm wondering if the ending of Ant-Man and the Wasp, plus perhaps something that, happens at the end of Captain Marvel, helps tie into Avengers 4.
So you think Loki's going to come down because he faked his own death, right? In Infinity War. So Loki's going to come down and he's going to save Scott from the quantum realm and bring him back. You think that's what's going to happen?
No.
Oh, come on. Loki and Ant-Man. That would be fun. Anyway, so in the post-credit scene, we had the wonderful scene of the ant playing the drums. And I was originally like, what? Why did I stay for this? Because I didn't need to stay for this. But Michelle, you ran into something that actually makes complete sense. Not only why did they show the post-credit scene, but why it's important.
Kevin Feige has confirmed that when Thanos did his snap, all life across the universe was cut in half, and that include animals. And if you think about all of Hank's ants, like being able to build the tunnel and defend him and get Bill Foster out of the, room, get him into the elevator, that ant could be the only Pym ant left. And perhaps that ant can help beat Thanos as well. Like, who knows? Those ants are very intelligent. It seems as though they could push the buttons and run the thing as well. And if you notice in that one scene, it starts with the television with that emergency signal, and then it just goes over to the ant. And I think that's probably the last Pym ant.
Okay, so what you're saying is Loki is going to come down because he faked his own death. And he's going to come to Scott Lang's house. He's going to find the ant. He's going to ride the ant over to where the van is, and the ant is going to bring back Ant-Man from the quantum realm.
Okay, that one I can get on board with.
Okay,
because I want to see Tom Hiddleston ride an ant.
Just FYI, by the way, there's an estimated 10 trillion ants on Earth right now. And in some places, like rainforests, they are somewhere around 20 to 25% of the biomass. Wow. So thanks a lot, Thanos. You really screwed up Earth's ecology.
Wow. And might I add, I'm never going to open another Altoids tin for the rest of my life.
That was so good. The use of... Okay, there was such an amazing use of like physical comedy in this movie, considering that it was like half CGI. It's like, we all saw the Pez thing from the trailers and the salt shaker thing from the trailers. But the ants thing was amazing. The ants in the Altoid container. Anytime like the Pym ant that's taking over for Scott, just guys, I'm so happy that they were able to make this movie in this time so that we could get these wonderful uses of like big things that should not be big and small things that should not be small.
And look relatively real too, yeah.
Yeah.
So the fights were just amazing. First of all, Hope Van Dyne is an incredible fighter. And then she's got this incredible suit, which can not only get bigger or smaller, she can fly, and she's got blasters on board. She is a force to reckon with herself. Like, oh, we have an army. It's not, oh, we have a Hulk. We have a Wasp, I think should be it, because she's just incredible. So the fights were amazing. The CGI, as you were talking about, was amazing because they were able to go back and forth between different sizes. The people were small, they were big, they were really big, and the items were normal size, they were small. And I think we really got a super big item, but yes, we did with the Pez throwing and stuff like that. So it was just a great use of all, including the actual physical fighting. So that was great. So let's run down the fights really quick since we're already here. So Michelle, tell us about when Hope meets Birch.
Hope just wants to make a simple business transaction, but Birch is like, no, I'm not going to sell you this component. Oh, by the way, I'm going to keep your money. And she just walks out, and then she comes back in as the Wasp. That whole great, that's where you get the salt shaker. She gets small. She runs along the knife. She has to avoid getting smashed. The way she was just able to get big, get small, use her martial arts hand to hand. It's fantastic.
Right.
It was good. And it was our first appearance with the Ghost, too, and seeing everything that Ava could do, which, if you watch Killjoys, you know that the actress Hannah can actually move around on her own and do her own stunts, although I think there was a stunt woman involved here. But you have that great stuff that happens. And then, Michelle, there was another big fight that happened as well at the end. Basically, I timed it. It was a half an hour long fight. It was amazing. So what's up with that end fight?
Oh, the streets of San Francisco, where it was basically hot potato with the lab.
Yeah.
Everything from Hope, that's where the Pez dispenser comes in. Being able to make motorcycles go small, use the Pez dispenser and enlarging it. When she goes to attack that car, she ends up getting big in the back seat, punching the guys, and then kicking herself out the back window, kicking herself into the driver's window was just amazing. I mean, Louise is right. She is a badass. And then you've got Scott getting big because he has a new suit and it's not quite done yet. So his size regulation is not on par. But he has to use that truck to get around.
It's a little skateboard. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That was just, that whole sequence was a lot of fun.
It was. And this is the sequence, by the way, that we had all the seagulls eating the ants. Bad seagulls.
Oh, man.
Bad seagulls.
I was dying. I was dying so bad. It's because I was like, oh, watch, he goes and eat the seagull. And then before I could even finish the sentence, the seagull came and ate it. And then just every time, because seagulls are horrible birds. I grew up along, the coast of Texas, and seagulls are there, and they're horrible. And one time, me and my best friend made the mistake of giving seagulls bread, and they chased us half a mile down the beach. It was like the scene in Jurassic Park with the gallimimuses, but it was seagulls, and it was horrible. And now I live along the coast again, and they're here, and they're horrible, and I hate them. They're the worst birds. And just seeing that, it was, because seagulls are so horrible.
And it wasn't just one, it wasn't two, it was like four or five or something like that. And you're like, oh, when is this going to stop? And you think of all these ants that are trying to help Scott out, and you're like, no. But then we also get the final fight that went around, and I kind of, the hot potato for the lab and the final fight all kind of kludged into one, even though there was a short intermission in between the two. So the final fight, you have Scott using his magical misdirection, which was great that since he doesn't know military tactics, but that's what he learned it from his magic school, misdirection. And I think he did a great job. So I think he had slightly more than 12% of a plan.
Well, he does make very good lists. You know, he does include like 1, 2, and he realizes, that needs to be 2A.
Yeah.
Run down what all we need. It's very, very effective to make a list.
It was. By the way, guys, there is no such thing as truth serum.
That was what I was going to use for my because of
There's no such thing as truth serum.
Because of truth serum.
Oh yeah. That was funny. And they all start talking, and when the cops come at the end to get Birch and his associates, they just tell the truth. And he's like, "Oh, the restaurants, I've done some horrible things in the restaurants." That
it is truth serum.
Yeah, it is. It is truth serum. Yeah.
Oh my
yes.
God, that was.
So we've talked about stuff getting big and small and stuff like that. We need to take a slight diversion over to the vehicles, because Scott Pym had a Hot Wheels case, basically, with a lot of different cars. I know you ladies probably aren't big Hot Wheels folks, but I have to mention that 2018 is actually the 50th anniversary of Hot Wheels, and they are celebrating, Hot Wheels Mattel is celebrating with a series of 6 specific cars, none of which I don't think were in the movie, but they had 6 cars. And some of the history of Hot Wheels, by the way, they were conceived in 1968 by 3 people: an inventor, a rocket scientist, not by me, by the way, rocket scientist, and a car designer. And they were set as 1/64th scale die-cast cars. So 5 decades later, they're still around. I, of course, also collected Matchbox cars when I was younger. So not just the Hot Wheels, but the Matchbox. I am actually more of a Matchbox guy than Hot Wheels. But Hot Wheels are what everybody knows from that car. And I just want to throw in there that this is the 50th anniversary. And I don't think Mattel really took this movie's chance to really advertise the 50th as much as they could have, but it's there anyway. And just want to throw that out, that this was the 50th anniversary. Are either you two like mini car people?
I used to collect some of the Micro Machine Star Wars stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They started doing those again. So happy.
All right. And then Michelle, one thing that I took out from the movie was Scott's talk at the end with Cassie when he comes back after he flees the lab and says, "Oh, I got to get back because of a variety of different things." And so Cassie covers for him because she sees the ant, which she's not that surprised about the big ant, but okay. And then they talk. And I think that was a touching moment that really fueled him on into the future.
I know how she's like, "You need a partner." And he's like, "Well, Hope and I." And she's like, "No, me." If you're aware of the comic books at all, she actually does grow up to become her own hero. But
Yes.
and that would be amazing. Like once she's old enough and everybody else is too old, we get like her Next Generation Marvel, phase 45 or whatever. It really was. I love the running gag of Scott being the world's greatest grandma.
Yes.
I thought that was so sweet. And she's like, "Well, that's the only one they had." But he's still like, "I am very proud to be the world's greatest grandma."
And of course, the little suit is in the, oh my God, when they're trying to get back the little suit that's hidden in the trophy. And he shrinks, the suit that he has is malfunctioning. And he's about the size of a 4-year-old. I was dying. It was so good.
He running down. Paul Rudd did a great job of exasperating his run as he's running down the hall.
And everybody is just, giving him crap for it. Hank and Hope in the car are just...
Did you have a nice day at school?
It's so good.
Do you need a juice box and some string cheese?
He needs a nap.
Oh, yeah. And let's not forget Louise, because he wants his own suit, too.
Louise is so fantastic in this movie. He like stole the show in the first one, and he continues to steal the show in this one.
I mean, he will always be the pilot in Martian for me. So he's cool in any movie that he wants to do.
He is. I went and saw A Wrinkle in Time, and he has a small part in that one, but he's menacing.
That's out on video now. I almost picked that one up on Friday.
I recommend it. I really liked it.
Yeah. All right, Michelle, we're going to talk about Stan Lee's cameo.
Yeah, his car gets shrunk. And he just went, well, the 60s were fun, but now I'm paying for it.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. I look forward to his cameos in the future. I don't know how many he had pre-recorded. I know he did several, and I don't know if he's going to pre-record some more or not. I did see on Instagram, and he says he's back. Excelsior! So Stanley is doing a lot better than he has been. So that's great. I'm glad that he's got the help that he needs, and we might be getting some more cameos from him. And also, let's talk a little bit about Giant Man, because Giant Man makes an appearance. No, it's not the Lawrence Fishburne Giant Man, although that would be cool to get Lawrence Fishburne as Giant Man. But Scott makes himself big again to get the case from Birch from the boat. And he actually needs to be rescued by Hope along the way. And she rescues him. She puts her feelings aside and she rescues him.
Yeah, he grows way too big while trying to get to Birch on a ferry to get the building back, and ends up passing out in the water because apparently that takes a lot out of you.
Well, we do learn that the whole Civil War thing, he slept for 3 days after that.
Yeah, which, I mean, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that having your metabolism that ramped up. Also, that's one of the things that bothered me about the giant ant. There's this whole thing called the square cube law, and it describes the relationship between the volume and surface area of an object as the size increases or decreases. And it's pretty widely cited as the reason why, like, insects can't be bigger than they are, because there's not enough. Okay. Insects don't have lungs like we do. They have along their sides, they're called spiracles. They're little holes that go directly into their kind of lung-like apparatuses. But they can't, because they have an exoskeleton and because, the way their lungs work, if they were any bigger than they are now at the size of, our current level of oxygen absorption in the atmosphere, they would collapse and die and suffocate. This was not a problem in the past when there was a much higher rate of oxygen due to things being different, which is why you got those super giant, horrible dragonflies and things like that. Well, kind of awesome dragonflies, really, back in like the pre-Triassic era and stuff like that, because there was a lot more oxygen. But now they couldn't really be that big, and that just kept bothering me whenever you'd have these giant ants. But anyway, that is the thing with, okay, that's why I think they have the helmets, because when they shrink that small, when Scott and Hope shrink that small, they need a way to keep breathing, because now the oxygen molecules they'd have a harder time breathing. And when he gets that big, you need a lot more oxygen all of a sudden, and your heart's working overtime, your muscles are doing more work. So it's going to be a lot bigger strain on your system. So yeah, it's going to be a lot more work.
So we do have the love story going on between Hope and Scott throughout the movie here. And I think they ended up in a good place, but dang it, those butterflies, they just, a lot of puff from them.
Moth.
What you call moth, I call butterfly. Okay.
They are moths. Moths? Okay. I will not go into it here, but those were moths.
Okay.
There's a difference. I can explain it.
While they were watching them,
Yeah.
which is an amazing old school horror movie. I remember watching that. Giant ants and everything. While they are small, because they're watching it on a laptop. Like it's a drive-in movie.
Big
So
screen TV. That would be great. As somebody who has created their own outdoor backyard movie theater recently, that bigger screen would be amazing. Of course, I'd worry about, big insects coming along and doing the same thing with my car, but hey, It all was good. So I'm out for the movie. Michelle, do you have anything else to say about Ant-Man and the Wasp?
I'm really happy that they got Michelle Pfeiffer to be Janet. She looks amazing. She brought a lot to the character in such a short amount of time. I would have loved to have been in the meeting with her and Paul Rudd, because Paul Rudd had to channel her during that whole sequence with the algorithm. I just wonder how they did that, actor to actor. But I'm just really glad they got Michelle Pfeiffer on so many levels. I love her as an actor. She's Catwoman, the whole deal. I'm just really glad to see her.
Yeah, I was going to state that I hope that in the next movie that she's in as the original Wasp, that she has to go through a costume party and then she comes in as Catwoman. That would be awesome. Lauren, do you have anything else to end our discussion on?
There were so many good little moments. The whole Baba Yaga thing made me laugh. Luis was just fantastic. The truth serum running joke. There's so many good little running jokes that pay off. I loved it. I love this movie. I liked it a lot better than the first one. And I liked the first one pretty okay. So
you reminded me something, Lauren, as X-Cons, that's the name of their company, X-Cons, and they're supposed to be a security company. They sure let Birch just waltz in there.
Hey, this is a long-standing tradition, whether it's Star Labs or the Arrow Cave. Sometimes security is not a super, and really, Luis is a regular guy and the business is almost bankrupt. So perhaps, he can't really even afford store-bought Danishes and stuff. He wants everybody to do oatmeal. So I could see why, they got in.
Well, both of those instances that you referred to were in the DC universe. They weren't in the Marvel universe. So I tend to give the Marvel universe a little bit more credit.
S.H.I.E.L.D. was infiltrated by Hydra.
Got a point.
Fair enough. All right. So we're going to move on into the trailers that we saw. I saw quite a few, actually. I saw the Dumbo trailer, which was a very nicely done trailer. I mean, it was its own theatrical experience in of itself. You had the Nutcracker in the Four Realms, which I'll let Michelle talk about. You had The Spy Who Dumped Me, which looks like a fun one. And again, that's for video or FX some weekend when it comes out. Megalodon. This is the first time that I saw a Megalodon trailer, and oh my gosh, it looks good. So I might be seeing that. The House with a Clock in Its Walls with Jack Black. That looks interesting. Probably another at home for me, because it's going to take a lot for me to get out to the theater from here on in, because I just am bugged by everybody around me. I saw Mission Impossible. Again, I'm done with that movie. I'm not only done with seeing trailers for that movie, I'm not going to see the movie in the theater because they've promoted that movie the heck to me, and it's overexposed to me. I don't want to go see it. And then a new one, The Hate You Give, which seems like actually a really good social experience. So I'm looking forward to that. I
just got the audiobook for that one, but I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet.
Okay. Lauren, do you remember any of the trailers that you saw?
I know we got Dumbo, which, I don't know, mixed opinion. We got the Nutcracker in the Four Realms, which I'm really looking forward to. I used to be in ballet as a kid, and I always wanted to dance in the Nutcracker and never did. Got Mission Impossible, which, yeah, again, over. I don't remember any of the other ones, really. Oh, The House with the Clock in Its Walls, yeah.
So if you like the Nutcracker, there is a Marvel actual extension into the Nutcracker. Did you know that? So Amy Acker, who played Coulson's girlfriend, the cellist.
Oh yeah, no, she was in Once Upon a Time. Yeah,
she was also in the Hallmark Holiday Channel movie about the Nutcracker ballet. So she actually played a ballerina for this. So there's your extended Marvel connection to the Nutcracker. So Michelle, what trailers did you see?
Well, first, SP mentioned a Hallmark movie, so an angel got its wings. The trailers that I saw include Creed 2
Oh, yeah.
with the whole Drago connection and everything. That's interesting. Bumblebee. I'm not a big, huge Transformer thing, but Bumblebee itself looks very cute and, like scared and everything.
As long as Michael Bay has nothing to do with that movie, I might see it.
The house with a clock in its walls. Alpha, which is interesting. I saw trailers for this movie a long time ago, and it was more about the boy being lost from the family. And in this trailer, it's experience how wolves and man became bonded and how dogs became our best friend. It's really interesting, the twist they've done in marketing with this movie. The Hate You Give, The Meg, which that's the Megalodon movie, Jason Statham, huge shark, The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. It's interesting going to see Helen Mirren as a bad, corrupted, I guess, queen or something. I don't understand quite like what her role is, but she's just evil, supposedly. And Dumbo, which, yeah, I'm very iffy about these live. I haven't seen any of the Jungle Book ones. I haven't seen the Beauty and the Beast one. The only live action one I saw was like Cinderella, because it's Cinderella. And Cinderella, I've seen live versions of Cinderella. My favorite is still the one with Whoopi Goldberg and Brandy.
Yeah.
But those are all the trailers that I've seen.
All right. I really haven't. Megalodon, or the Meg, as you said, is probably the closest I'll get to actually going and seeing anything in the theater, if at all. So I might just wait, see it at home, and see it on the big screen in the backyard. We'll see. All right, that wraps up our discussion on the Ant-Man and the Wasp. And we have more to come with news and feedback. But in the meantime, if you're searching for more great geeky content, Lauren, we have it for you.
We do indeed. You might want to check out All Things Good and Nerdy. In episode 319, The Best Dollar Ever Spent, it's another week of shenanigans from the ATGN crew. Chris is laughing over the fact that Thanos Did Nothing Wrong subreddit is banning half their users before Anthony shares the news of legendary artist Steve Ditko's passing. As the show wraps up, Anthony officially starts his latest Kickstarter project, but the 8-bit Bachman sketchbook. That's All Things Good and Nerdy.
Yes, we do have some sad news to start off our news segment. And Michelle, what do we have this week?
Yeah, we have to say goodbye to Steve Ditko, who very influential. If you watch Doctor Strange, a lot of people were mentioning all of Spider-Man's iconic look comes from there. Lauren, did you want to mention anything?
Yeah, in addition to, Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, he also did a lot of work for the Creepy and Eerie anthology for Charleston comic. And he created Blue Beetle and The Question and Captain Atom. And if you like the comic Watchmen, those characters influenced, Rorschach. And I'm blanking out. Again, I need caffeine. But those characters were influential to the characters who were sort of the XPs. Those characters were the characters that, if I remember right, Alan Moore wanted to use, and then they didn't give him the rights, so he created the XPs of them in the Watchmen characters. He moved to DC, where he created the Creeper and Hawk and Dove. He co-created Squirrel Girl. He's so influential. There was a bit of bad blood between him and Stan Lee. he was called kind of reclusive because he didn't really like publicity. But he was seriously influential. And he lived to 90. That's a fantastic age. And he left a hell of a legacy.
Well, in other news, some good news. Black Widow finds a director in Kate Shortland. She's an Australian filmmaker, best known for the Nazi drama Lore. She has the backing of Scarlett Johansson. And we even have a script. Jack Schaefer has written the recent draft for Black Widow. You know, she's also wrote the upcoming female-centric remake of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which is now called The Hustle. And this movie is supposed to take place before the first Avengers. See how Natasha Romanoff becomes Black Widow. It's happening, people.
It's great. As I mentioned before, I watched Iron Man 2 this past weekend, which of course was the first screen appearance of the Black Widow. So it was awesome seeing the origins in the MCU anyway, in the MCU time lapse movies of Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. So really looking forward to seeing this movie, of course, as everybody else is.
I kind of wish they'd made it a few years ago because right now I am really angry at Scarlett Johansson.
She did drop out of the movie eventually. But she shouldn't have taken it in the first place.
Shouldn't have taken it in the first place, and her initial response was awful. For those who want to know what we're talking about, ask us on Twitter. It is not Marvel related.
Well, we talked a lot about S.H.I.E.L.D. because it was mentioned in Ant-Man and the Wasp. But on good news, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has begun filming.
That's right. If you happen to follow Chloe Bennett on Instagram, she has stated that the 6th season is already slated to start filming next week, like tomorrow, as we're recording this. And also I saw something from Agent May's Twitter account that she basically said the same thing. So there was a story on MCUexchange.com that basically announced that Chloe Bennett said that they were going to start filming. Now, ladies, I got to ask you this. We know that this film is not going to, or this series is not going to take place until after the Avengers 4 movie comes out next May. So it'll be in June, July timeframe. They are filming it now in July of 2018 for a July 2019 air. That's a long time between actually shooting and when the series comes out, isn't it?
I bet is to save money, perhaps, because they would have to. Oh, it's something about how you have to keep actors basically sort of like on a retainer. You have to make sure that they don't take another project between now and, you know, filming Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because actors want to work and they're like, I need money. Like, what are we going to do? So I think they're doing it now because this is when they usually film. And then that way the actors would be off and be able to do something else.
Yeah, this was a concern about, I don't know if you watched Babylon 5, but there was, at the end of season 4, there was a lot of concern on whether or not they were going to be getting a 5th season. And part of that contract concern was what caused Ivanova, Claudia Christian, to have to be written out of the show because she couldn't get a hard yes or no answer. And part of her contract was something like she couldn't audition for stuff while she was still working. So you kind of want to have your actors employed and not leaving the show.
Right. So this, in my opinion, does not bode well for a season 7 because how are you going to have these guys film from here till May and then air, you know, whatever it is, a 10 episode season, 13 episode season, 20 episode season, and then come back for a 2019 through 2020. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I think the series is done after season 7.
Makes sense. In the show notes, I did put the article link to the article about what we discussed before, how Kevin Feige did confirm that half the animals, including doggies and horses and all that, was taken by the snap. We have some X-Men animated series news.
Yes, we do. So this year is the 25th anniversary of X-Men the Animated Series. And San Diego Comic-Con is coming up really soon. And it turns out that on Sunday, there will be a panel about the 25th anniversary of X-Men the Animated Series. And I'm so happy. The production team will be going into the behind the scenes, including producer-director Larry Houston and two of the writers. There's also going to be another panel that day, the Women of Marvel panel, which will feature Sana Amanat, the VP of Content and Character Development. She's also responsible for pushing Kamala Khan into the Marvel Universe. Judy Stevens, a producer, and other panelists as they show up. And there will also be Marvel's X-Men panel and the Legion panel, a memorial panel for Harlan Ellison. So, yeah, it's going to be a pretty good weekend for Marvel. I mean, not much movie stuff, but a lot of good stuff for like X-Men. And oh my God, I'm really looking forward to the animated series. When the animated series was what got me firmly hooked on X-Men.
Same here. And then we have this nice collection of stories about, Reddit can be a horrible place, but this is a case of where Reddit was fun and it has to deal with Thanos.
There is a subreddit called r/Thanos did nothing wrong. We mentioned them a little bit further back in the news. Actually, we mentioned them in the, All Things Good and Nerdy, because they also discussed this. They decided, in the spirit of, the subreddit, they were going to ban half the users at random. And then a lot of people got involved, including Josh Brolin, who recorded a video of him shirtless in bed doing the snap. And then the Russos also got involved. They created accounts and were like, well, we're both going to submit to the culling. And then after the culling, a subreddit was created in the Soulstone where all the people who were banned are just hanging out and having a good time, because the subreddit was basically just a place for people to share Marvel memes. And now this is the place for the banned people to share Marvel memes. And it's one of the more fun places on Reddit to be right now. Because again, Reddit can be horrible, but this is kind of good. So I'm digging it.
One of the Denny's has this, in child hunger thing where I guess you donate and you get a thing and you get to write a name. Somebody wrote Thanos, helping to end child hunger. Oh, because Thanos did nothing wrong. And our last bit is from me, because I like to share really fun things. Deadpool the Musical 2, the ultimate Disney parody. If you haven't seen this group's first Deadpool parody, please go see it. This is very rated R, very not safe for work, but it makes fun of Deadpool 2. It makes fun of the amount of cast in Infinity War, how Deadpool wants to be part of the X-Men. And then the ending, I don't want to spoil the ending because I love the ending. I'm not going to spoil it for you. It's 12 minutes of delightful fun. Just remember, it's not safe for work. And we've got some feedback this week. We heard from @AdonnaGirl.
Yes, we did. So there is a Hurricane Chris. Hurricane Chris is now the strongest Chris storm in Atlantic history. And AdonnaGirl said, do you think if the MCU Chris's joined forces with Chris Pine, they could defeat Hurricane Chris?
Yes.
Folks?
The answer to that is yes.
I mean, the abs of Chris Hemsworth alone should be able to take care of that hurricane.
Well, Chris Pine will just use Enterprise technology, and that'll take care of it.
No, he'll use those eyes.
Mhm.
And we heard from at Mr. Paracletes.
So, remember a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the top 10 evil and sexy
Yep.
Marvel villains? This is actually a twofer. If a top 10 evil and sexiness list is to be made, I think some value weighing needs to occur. I feel like the article you guys read had to have put more value in evilness than hotness. Doesn't fully explain their list, but it's a start of an explanation and as a follow-up. Also, if we're including the Netflix series villains, how is Sigourney Weaver not on the list? Sigourney should be in Ultron's place easily. Agreed.
And then at Mr. Paracletes also had something to say.
Generally, I try to pick from 3 different people, but I really liked this comment. A line from the Avengers that always stuck out to me, I'm thinking about again, re-listening to it, about harnessing the Tesseract energy from space and how the harness wasn't ready. Maybe I'm reading too much, but could Carol Danvers be part of said harness? Thoughts?
Could be. I mean, she channels cosmic energy.
I hope they make her as powerful as she's supposed to be in the comic books. Part of my fear is that they will limit her, but I really hope we get the true Captain Marvel.
Yep. And that would take Tony Stark down a notch or so. We'll see. We'll see how the two interact. If the two interact, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll see. I mean, lots of things to happen between now and then, like the Captain Marvel movie to begin with. So see what Carol Danvers is like in December after we've seen the movie. Yes, indeed. We are going to go ahead and Quantum Realm Subway this one out. So since this has been such a long podcast, we're trying to get out as quick as we can. Just want to say thank you, everybody, for sticking with us throughout the entirety of the MCU as we've been going through every single movie that's come out since Iron Man. And just thank you for sticking with us through our current watch through of Legion before we get to some of the Netflix stuff later on this fall.
And I want to thank everybody who's gotten a hold of us this week on Twitter or just anything. We really love knowing that you're thinking of us, that you're listening. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank you for listening. We appreciate every one of you. And again, if you have any input that you want to share, please get in touch with us. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We love to hear from you. Love to hear what your theories are. Will Ant-Man use one of the little time things to, help defeat Thanos? We want to know.
Indeed. So until next time, I'm Director SP.
I'm Agent Lauren.
And I'm Consultant Michelle.
Bye. See you guys next week as we talk some Legion Chapter 13.
Bye.
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 Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, go to gonnageek.com and you will find all our contact information and other shows. You can also visit legendsofshield.com where you'll find our complete archive of podcasts. The music heard on this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod, found at incompetech.com, and also artists on pond5.com and audiojungle.net. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual hosts and do not represent Stargate Pioneer Productions, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., or Gonna Geek. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the property of the Disney Corporation, Marvel Studios, and ABC. No infringement is intended. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is copyright 2018.